Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome back to Season 2 of the On the RYZE podcast. Today we have our first ever Coaches Edition featuring two of my good friends and former players, Storrs and Tasha Humphrey. Join us for a fun and informative conversation as we break down everything from transitioning from player to coach, skill development, and the new landscape of recruiting for younger players. Thanks, I hope you enjoy. To my right, directly, we got Storrs, a state champion at Columbia High School, Georgia Tech, 4-year player at Georgia Tech, a Nike EYBL coach for the Georgia Stars, currently an AE5 consultant and currently an assistant coach at Norcross High School. To his right, we have the Tasha Humphrey, a 2004 McDonald's All-American, a 3-time state champion at Gainesville High School, SEC and National Freshman of the Year at UGA, the UGA, the 11th overall pick in the WNBA draft, and a gold medalist, correct? Mm-hmm. Gold medalist in 2017 for the FIBA Games. And I appreciate both of y'all coming on. First thing I just kind of want to ask y'all about, since both of you guys played, Lance, you also played about 5 years professionally, and Tasha, you played, how many years you played?
5.
5 years professionally. Now both of you guys are coaching in Norcross. Mm-hmm. What is the biggest transition from player to coach for you guys?
I think for me personally, it was just having to rewire how we were built, how we came up, because the generation now is a little bit different. And for me, it was about accepting that you got to meet these kids where they are now. Like back in the day, coaches had a lot more freedom in what they could say, what they could do. Mm-hmm. And kids didn't have that freedom and that flexibility to leave and be at a different program just like that. So you had to really grind it out sometimes. But now, obviously, a lot of that has changed. So meeting kids where they're at, giving them that support, making them better, I think that's one of the biggest things.
I think the biggest thing is, for me, it was just can't expect every single kid to do certain things that maybe you think you can do or you've seen done before. So it's just like Tasha said, it's just me and them in that common ground and just all right, how can we make this work? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's a give and take relationship right now. And also just making sure that in the day, most importantly, they compete. You know what I mean? I just feel like the kids are different, but different in a good way. So, I mean, it's kind of a transition and it's different.
I mean, not all of it's good. I think the biggest thing that I see, the biggest difference between us and them is the competitive nature. Oh. Even if we're just playing around in the gym, we're going to want to win. Mm-hmm. They'll play around with each other, try some moves. We nah, I'm trying to distort. Yeah, I dunk on my grandmama if she trying to match it one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? But I think they're more mindful of that because if you got crossed back in the day, you just got crossed. You had to be there to see it. You may have heard about it, but now you can get crossed and millions can see it. You can be reposted by NBA player, everybody. It changes a lot. It's a different kind of pressure that we can handle it as adults because we weren't going through it in those formative years, and I can't even imagine the kind of pressure and having that spotlight. Everything you do is judged in immediate consumption for everybody, not just the people in your circle, literally for the entire world.
Yeah. I mean, y'all touched on a lot of it, automatically. Mm-hmm. The first thing. So I'm currently in that transition from player to coach, and that's the first thing that I've realized. It's the way I was brought up. I was in the gym with the guys the other day, and I'm going to be harping on point guards. Mm-hmm. Point guards throwing the ball all over the gym. Man, we got college coaches in there, all this, and I'm in my head, I'm stop, don't, but I'm I got to actually filter this. I can't just blast them like that. They may not necessarily respond. And like you said as well, showing them that you care about them first and that you love them, but you're also going to coach them hard because of that. But what you said as well, Tasha, is another interesting point because it's just, we didn't grow up in that time where everything we did was documented. Yeah. There are kids now that, even from when they were in middle school, their parents have recorded everything, the got everything on file, can show you the growth and all this, which I don't necessarily think is bad, but I think it can also it has to be put in its proper place in the sense of like its value and importance. Like, because whatever you're doing, and you can fool anybody on highlight reels and all this stuff. Well, y'all know we can look at kids now and see the highlight reels and be like, oh, that kid probably ain't that good.
Yeah.
You know? Like when the little flash go off and they shoot the shot and it cuts to the next clip. You know, that was a miss. He didn't make that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we already know. But in that, now that you know, obviously you guys are with guys every day. I'm with players every day. How do you kind of help manage that? Because it is a different time for them and a lot of different expectations for them. What are some? I mean, obviously we all been there, but we haven't been there with this type of magnifying glass this early. You know, we had it in college, obviously, but this early we didn't have it. What are some things you guys kind of give to them to kind of help massage those expectations a little bit?
I think the main thing is just kind of continue to tell them, like, you know, just to continue to find that love and that passion for the game, regardless of, you know, if you're not being recruited or highly touted, and if you are, you know, make sure you keep your circle tight, because eventually as time goes on, you consider that guy, you start hearing a lot of things, and you hear a lot of people just give you what you want to hear, and instead of what you need to hear. You know what I mean? So I think when you coming up and you hearing what you want, like what you want to hear, it can be self-destructive. You know what I mean? Because you're actually not getting in the gym getting better. You're actually not focusing on the things that you need to do to be prepared for when the coaches or the scouts finally come in to really evaluate you against the other high quality or top-notch kids in the country. Because, you know, the reason why those kids are number one, the top 15 in the country, whatever the case may be, is because they constantly work. They don't take, oh, you're the best or you're this good. They want to keep being challenged. They want to find ways to keep getting better. I think those kids there are the ones that get that ranking and also just continue to make it high at the next level until that should be a pro. So that's just my outlook on it.
Absolutely. Same for us, Tasha.
I think my biggest thing is trying to get them to remain mindful that comparison is a thief of joy. You know, I think sometimes they get so enamored in the highlights and the rankings and things like that they either get so defeated that they don't work hard, kind of like, what's the point of doing all the extra work? Or they think that they, you know, say if they're on the positive spectrum of it, they think, okay, I got all these likes, I got all these views, I don't need to do the work. You know, so always trying to remain mindful that the work has to be done. Because, like, you know, one thing about being an elite athlete or former elite athlete, I've been to where they want to go. And, like, you know, I try to tell them sometimes, like, if you're not working, you got to understand there are people like me that are out here playing sun up to sun down, like obsessed with it, watching film, shooting not even just shooting, making 500 shots a day. So, I mean, I think that's why sometimes, like, this, not the skill gap more so, but like the overall how these elite players know how to play the game as far as basketball IQ, reading the different levels of the defense and things like that, because they're not just basketball players, they're actual students of the game. And I think that's what differentiates a lot of kids from here to now. We had to watch all the film. We had to watch the entire game. There weren't just highlights of these moments. You had to watch the entire piece, you know. So that's been the biggest thing. Comparison is a thief of joy, and making sure if you say you want it, your actions have to align, not just your words, because we've been there. I know what somebody who capping. I know when you're capping. You know what I'm saying? Sure. I know when you're capping, because I was a big dog. Absolutely. Like, we were some big dogs in here. You know, so.
No, it's both. I mean, again, 100% correct. It goes into really kind of like the other thing, like as far as like player development, right? And I'm interested to hear y'all's thoughts on it, but since I've been coming back, I've been noticing a lot with like kids now that is very, very different. I'll give you an example. One time I was at a game with two, you know, really highly, you know, talented kids. Both of them super talented, could really have their choice of school, but they were playing against a team that didn't have as much talent. And they were taking some of the worst shots I ever seen, going to the basketball IQ and understanding how to play. And I was really thinking about it, like, growing up, we never had, it wasn't, you didn't see that a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I understand the game has changed from a skill standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the 3-point shot has changed things and all this stuff, but I remember looking at it and it dawned on me like, oh, it's because these kids really did not grow up like hooping for real. Mm-hmm. Player development now has shifted to just like, okay, being in the gym, I need to get this skill, this skill, this skill, this.
Get your bag right.
Trying to get the bag right, which is phenomenal. Like, you have to have that. But I tell guys all the time, if you don't know how to apply that, it doesn't matter. Yeah. We learned organically and naturally what a good and bad shot was, what was conducive to winning, because we just grew up hooping. Mm-hmm. Like, and going to the gym, you out there taking bad shots, you're not going to get picked because there's 30, 40 people on the side.
And a lot of times you're playing with the older kids, and they're not even just kids, older men and women, and they're not going for that.
At all. I remember, I know y'all old enough to remember running shoe just like me.
Oh, yeah.
You should go in there and have some wars. And I'm in high school playing with grown men, and again, it's just like, nah, young fella, that ain't going to work. Like, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that. And I don't know if kids have that as much now. I don't know if you guys see it as much now, but I think, I'm interested in y'all's thoughts on it, like mixing that back in, making sure that's another major element to player development I think is missing.
I think the biggest thing that I think is lacking from player development, just from my perspective, is they're teaching them the like isolation moves and how to get past that initial defender, but they're not teaching them how to read. Okay, now he's out the way, how to read these different levels, that secondary, that first help man, that big, what are they doing? Mm-hmm. Because you'll see a guy or a girl making an incredible pop, hit them, and then their decision is to drive into 3 people, versus doing the move, reading the floor while you're doing the move and making the right decision. I guarantee you, if you watch film right now, you see a lot of kids driving in just like the concept of spacing. Concept of spacing is one of the biggest thing that blows my mind. Absolutely. It's crazy how many kids don't understand. You want to go to the double and triple gaps. You want to have that freedom, because that's a bigger distance for the help to have to rotate. It's a longer closeout. And that's creating the numbers game. Absolutely. If it's 2-on-1 on the ball, that means on that pass, it's a numbers game. Mm-hmm. We got the advantage. And I don't think kids see the game like that or understand how to take advantage of the bag that you've gotten, that you're paying for, and applying it into a game that helps you and helps your team.
Is that more so from they're not playing enough, we're not teaching it enough as coaches, as trainers, or is it they're not watching enough film? Is it a combination of all three?
I think it's for me, I was big on film. Mm-hmm. I think watching film of people who you aspire to be, people who are doing things at an elite level, and watching film on yourself and your opponent are something that I don't think is prioritized.
I think that, like you said, everybody's so worried about the one-on-one being your first guy, where, I remember when we were coming up, it was just like, it was always something like, okay, when you drive, this guy does this, what should you do? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been that person, that player that was always worried about the guy in front of me. I'm worried about the help. Mm-hmm. Yep. You know what I mean? Because now the help is going to identify, letting you know, hey, this is the play I need to make. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think that, it's always good to break down guys' game to just help them with the ball handling, the shooting, and everything. But if you have group workouts, or you got, with a trainer that has, several kids in the group, like, they should be breaking it down where you're playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3. That goes back to the double and triple gap, right? Less, you incorporate less players on the floor, which now opens up the gap. So now it's like on the defensive end, you got a gap, close up, like long closeout. Now you make that play. Now either I'm catching the ball, like I'm reading my guy. Is he close enough for me to contest, or can I drive by him? And I think the feel for the game for a lot of kids right now is not there. And that's why I try to tell parents all the time when they're younger, don't worry about going all over the place or trying to play in these tournaments or try to match up with the best kid. Focus on the development. Because the older you get, coaches at the higher levels, they're going to still continue to develop, but they don't want to continue. They don't want to develop the basic basketball IQ plays. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think the kids have to understand, like, where they need to work on with their game, but just also incorporate the basketball IQ side of it at the same time.
Yeah. I love you said that because, like, as a coach, I can teach you how to shoot a basketball or do this, run a play, whatever. But, like, if I got to teach you that, hey, you got two people on you need to pass it, we missed something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we missed a major step. I hear a lot of people now kind of blame that on just travel ball a lot. It's very different from the structure of high school. And obviously, you guys have both coached in both already. Is that tough for you guys? Like as that transition in the sense of like, all right, I got them in high school. I'm with them every day. They're getting the structure. They're getting this and that. And depending on which AAU team or travel team they go to, it's just, hey, roll the ball out and just let them hoop a little bit. Is that something you guys have seen or kind of dealt with?
I mean, not really. I think a lot of the kids that I've coached end up on fairly good AAU teams that teach the game the right way. I think once kids start just believing the hype in some of these programs, like the guys that are selling like snake oil,
For sure.
that's when you mess up. Because they don't care about teaching the game the right way. They're just out here for the views and the clicks and things like, or for the bag. So.
I think that, I think the one reason on why it's probably people feel that way about the travel ball and school ball is because the roster changes quickly on the AAU side.
It does.
You know what I mean? So, and it's not always the case of a kid or, whatever the case might be. It's just because the kid or parent might just say, hey, I don't like this situation right now. I don't see where my kid is being the focal point, so I'm going to move him. And you can, as an AAU coach, you can find out that your kid is leaving 2 days before your first year of tournament. So now, like, whatever you had in place can change. You can't keep a system if you do have a system.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, me personally, like, I give it up for all the guys on the travel ball side. Just one, it's a thankless job. You know what I mean? Nobody's getting paid. A lot of those dudes are, giving their time and energy to try to help kids out. But also, too, man, it's just like they deal with adversity every single week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, after Sunday, there's no telling who's going to come back. But they find a way, continue to try to mold the kids as best as possible and try to put the best product on the floor. Whereas high school coaches, kid is in the program, he's there for a year, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, that kid is going to be forced to either, like Tasha said earlier, grind away, find some time on the floor, or you just, back in the day when we was coming up, like, if I wasn't playing or I didn't get what I wanted, my mom and dad was like, you work hard. Like, in the gym, are you outworking the guy that's playing more than you or getting the time that you want?
Those were the first questions asked.
And it's just like, shut up, grind.
Yep.
But it's rare now.
Yeah.
It's rare now.
Yeah.
The average parent and guardian is like, oh, my kid's feeling unhappiness. Let's go. Not making them go through that adversity. Pushing them through abuse or something like that in a toxic situation is one thing. But a coach just saying that you don't have the skill set or the IQ, like, you need to be a focal point, or not even a focal point in the rotation on our team. That's something that you just gotta swallow your pride and, like Lance said, work harder. Nobody cares. Work harder.
Yeah. And honestly, everybody here was played at that professional level. That's what they're gonna tell you to do. And the thing is, if you can't adjust to that, now you're getting up out of here.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me because I had to have a talk with a parent not that long ago about it, and they were saying the same thing, like, oh, he's not this, he's not doing that. And the kid is, good player, but he's got to improve and get better, and he will. But it's like, hey, I asked him, like, did you ever, like, go through, like, some hard stuff at one point? And they were like, yeah. It was like, and it helped make you, like, successful in what you do. And they are successful in what they do. And it's like, it's no different in this. Like, they have to go through that. Like, they have to, when you get to college, you go through a lot of stuff at one time. And it's like, even now, hey, if you're not preparing them now to, like, okay, look, maybe the coach isn't running plays for them all the time. Go find another way to affect the game. You know what I'm saying? Go get me a steal. Go get a rebound. Like, I told a kid one time, it was at one live event, and college coaches were there, and there was one kid who just wouldn't stop talking on defense. And like 5 coaches turned just to see who it was.
Quick story, right? So I was overseas, right? And I try to tell the guys on how, as you get older, the game, the business sides come out, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'm overseas playing on my team. We're like top 2 during the league. And, at that point, I'm playing pretty well, fairly well, shooting the ball pretty good. But, we come to practice, you see 2 Americans already there. We go overseas, you don't see too many Americans.
Yeah, because there's a roster limit that you can have.
Exactly. So we had 3 Americans, and it was a big guy and a wing. So I'm looking like, okay, I know I play the wing.
You looking? He said,
I know I play the wing.
So I'm looking at it like, So they over there lacing up. So then the owner comes out and said, hey, listen, like, we have 2 guys in, and we're about to make the playoffs, but we want to make sure we're in the best situation to win a championship. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay. So, of course, like, they come out there and they're practicing. So basically, like, in the middle of the season, we still had a tryout to compete. So either I was going to, sink, or I'm going to swim.
Yep.
And eventually, like, after a couple of days of practice, the owner was like, yeah, like, we're going to stick with you guys. Mm-hmm. And they send them back home, but that just goes to show you that, you're going to always face adversity no matter what in your career, regardless if it's right now, middle school, high school, college, when you make it further than that, pro. So the kids have to understand, man, like, if you want to be good and be great, you have to continue to fight and push and block out all the noise and just focus on it.
It's getting better, like you said. I mean, it's fighting through it and getting better because, as we all know, like, at their age now, with most of the guys we work with, they're babies, like, in the sense of their basketball journey and the things that they're going to experience. It's like you got to be able to kind of get through these steps first and continue to fight through it and develop. Otherwise, like you said, you're going to be stuck and you can't really improve until you kind of accept the fact that adversity is a part of that improvement.
Yeah.
And one thing that I do remember is just I had a coach tell me not that long ago, and this kid is really good, getting recruited by a bunch of good places. And I heard recently they're like, might want to chill. The schools are like, we might want to chill out on this kid because we're hearing his mom's a problem, his dad's a problem, all these different things. And just talk about some of the stuff you guys have experienced where, like, hey, like, just these situations of too many people in their ear has, like, negatively affected them from a recruiting standpoint.
I mean, like, a lot of coaches, when I talk to them, man, the main thing that a lot of these college coaches want to know is, like, first and foremost, who's going to help the kid make the decision, right? And so now, you as a parent don't want to have too many people speaking for your kid on, hey, I can help get you this kid, that, or, whatever the kid. They need to figure out who's good, right? And then, too, like, parents, the more you sit back and just let everything organically happen, those are schools that, that want to recruit you. Because at the end of the day, those coaches understand that I don't want to be during my season where I'm making really good money and I'm on a year-to-year basis technically to win and, produce games. Where I got you trying to come to my office or you're sending me emails. When you go on my phone, I'm right after the game. Like, that's, no coach has ever put out a roster or a team just to say, hey, I'm put out there. They're trying to put the best 5 out there to win in a ball game.
That's their job.
That's their job.
Yep.
So I just try to tell parents all the time, like, listen, you got to understand they're going to do that. So you got to make sure that you do what you need to do for your child that's to get better.
Yep.
And not be all in the mix. Because so then they also see you do on the sideline. Half the time they already know what the kid can do. Mm-hmm. They're looking at the sideline. Mm-hmm. What are you as a parent telling your kid during the game? What are you saying to the coach? Are you yelling at the coach? That's something that they don't want to be associated with and be a part of because they don't have time for that job. So, parents just got to just sit back, let things organically happen for their kids, and, it's going to happen when it's need to happen.
Yeah. You feel the same, Tasha?
I think when you hear, like, somebody like Dan Hurley, some of these elite coaches, they're they're saying, I'm not even going to recruit a kid if they don't come from a good family. Like, unless you're like, you got to be special. But I think when you look at college coaches have to worry about NIL. They have to worry about, let's say you have a parent. Let's say you do get an unruly parent. Because the world has changed, like an unhappy parent back in the day is just an unhappy parent. They're talking to their circle. An unhappy parent of a 5-star can get on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, make a post, and it blows up everything. So coaches have to think about that ripple effect. What are the other recruits going to say? Because it's going to start it's going to start some mumbles. People are going to start talking. So I think parents have to understand your job is to obviously have the betterment of your child is the forefront, but support and research and do the best decision. Stay in your lane. Your job is parent. Let the coach be the coach. Let the trainer be the trainer. Let whoever be whatever. But your job is to be a parent. I understand there's a special circumstance of like, if you ever get to the point where your son is recruited, you've been there. You have a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So somebody who's been through it, who's coached on a high school level, coaches on the AAU level, played professionally, you come from a different perspective. You offer a different perspective. So you being more involved is for the betterment of your child because you've been there. But a person that has just kind of always been on the sideline, never been behind the scenes and understands what it fully takes and what this big business, how it operates, trying to overstep your boundaries or not stay in your lane, not only hurts you because it makes you look bad, it hurts the kids because a lot of these coaches are not trying to hear that.
Yeah. And also to kind of piggyback off, like you said, coaches also look at the route each kid has been.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if you've been a kid that's been to 4 different high schools in 4 years, or, you done played for different AAU teams throughout your time too. And, and there's not like I said, some kids have to, go out of state. Mm-hmm. But with Georgia basketball,
yeah,
right? And so many great programs from SHU to independent and coaches that can do different things and provide different things, there's no way your kid should be going out of town. Now, also, I've had coaches say, out of all these teams, why is that kid going out of town to go play?
Yeah.
So now it goes back to like, maybe that parent has been to every single, SHU team or the coaches. It's a small community.
Oh, yeah.
We know each other. You know certain people. So if one thing is said to you, that's what somebody's going to sound it off to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So now, once you get that stigma of an unhappy parent, it hurts you. So now when coaches do find a recruit, it's like all they hear is a negative. When the kid is good, but the parent, before you even get to the kid, the whole topic or conversation is going to be about the parent first.
Yeah.
Now that kind of they don't even get to the kid that time
because they got to get to the bottom of what that was
for sure.
Yeah, and again, like you said, that's their job, and their job is to win, and their job is to know all of this information. Like you said, let the coaches coach. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And not even just people with our credentials, but even your good high school coaches, the ones that have been around, that have done it and all that, like they got no other reason to be here but to try to help your kid. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I've rarely seen situations of somebody trying to hurt a kid. It's like, now they're going to tell you the truth, and that might hurt, but they are never going to intentionally do anything to hinder like them in that way. Now, I truly believe that, and most people I talk to, I'm sure you guys are the same. You kind of feel that as well. But speaking of recruiting process, though, like what type of things would you encourage like kids and parents when it gets to that time and they got a few schools to pick from? What type of things should they look for, listen for, type of things that you think they should factor into their decision?
I think you should have like a prioritization list. Like when it comes down to it, like if NIL money is your number one, who's going to come, education, different determining factors. Like I think if you have a solid list of this is where I want to be, see how many schools check that box. And once you make a decision, stay firm in that decision. Because I think it's easy once you make it, you get all the outside noise, whether it's social media, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's schoolmates, oh, you should have went here, you should have went there. And you know yourself better than anybody. So trust yourself.
Yep.
Trust the decision you made in that moment. If you get there and things aren't what it is, you're lucky, you're blessed, you live in an era where you can go to a situation that better fits you. But trust your gut, trust the people that care for you, and trust the feeling that you get, when you're around the team, when you're around coaches, because that initial contact really tells you a lot, and that's how it was for me. So
I really think that at the end of the day, like, you should have different plans, right? You should have a plan A, plan B, plan C. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, what is your number one thing that you want, right? Of course, everybody thinks it's high, major, Division I, Kentucky, Blue Bloods, whatever. Have a plan B, right? Now plan B is if any of those schools don't come, where is it? D2, a mid-major, and or also probably a JUCO or prep. Mm-hmm. Those are different things that you have to look into based on the recruitment process, because it's hard for high school kids right now, right? Because every coach in America wants to go old.
Yep.
And, and my thing is, you can have a different route. When you go on your phone and you type in the address to go wherever, it gives you three different routes. Mm-hmm. But it's going to get you to the final destination, right? Mm-hmm. So some say it's 40 minutes, 35, whatever. You got to go whatever route that you need to go that's best for you.
Yeah.
Right? And when I say that, it's just being able just to understand, like, you need to focus in on where you would, like you said, Tasha, Mike, what do you want out of your schooling and your playing? Is it about academics? Is it about playing time early? Or do I want to grind my way out through this program because I want to be here? So you just got to have different plans, different pros and cons, and you sit down and just figure it out.
Yeah. You are who you get recruited by, right? You know what I mean? So, like you said, if these schools aren't coming, well, what's the other alternative? And what you don't want is for a kid to say only be holding out for your Blue Bloods, your Kentuckys, or whatever, and then you're not necessarily building relationships mm-hmm. with these other schools that like you, that are coming to see you on that. You're kind of not giving them the time of day or whatever. And I've seen that. Then if those other schools never come, now you're stuck and you haven't built a relationship with them, one. And then two, let's say you are lucky enough to get there. And let's say it doesn't work out for whatever and you do need to make a move. Well, you haven't necessarily built any relationships with these other coaches at any of these other places. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, okay, you're in the same pool of all these thousands and thousands of kids that are trying to move. Whereas if you had a relationship where you didn't, blow any school off or gave everybody the proper respect and time of day, now it's okay, I remember that. And also at the same time, the transfer portal being moved, and these coaches move around too. Mm-hmm. You never know where they're going to be. And so you got to always, I try to tell kids all the time, like, always keep that in mind as well, where, like, it's an honor to be recruited by anybody, you know what I'm saying, for what you do, for what you love to do. So give them that time of day and just be respectful. And whether you want to be there or not, because you never know where the cards may fall.
Yeah, for sure.
Tasha, you touched on NIL a little bit. Mm-hmm. I know it's a very nuanced conversation. It's a constantly changing landscape of things. Lance, you and I talked about this a while ago, and you had a really good story about it. Keeping the main thing as far as guys and playing the long game in terms of kids. I don't know if you remember what the conversation we had, but if you do, go ahead and just kind of say what we were talking about in that, and because you made some really good points in there.
I just, at the end of the day, man, we all go back to it's basketball, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to play. So, a coach can throw, depending on what program they're at, like, they can throw you a number that you like and that you want, but at the end of the day, are you going to continue to be able to play to continue to be able to make that? Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? So, sometimes you got to have a situation where you're going into it, it's like, okay, first of all, where do I fit in your system? Talk to the coaches about that, mm-hmm. because
absolutely,
if you go to it about NIL, about money, mm-hmm. that's how these coaches are going to treat you. They're going to treat you as a business. So when you get there, you're not producing at the level they need you to be at, versus the amount of money they're trying to give you or they are giving you. Now it's like now the kids like, oh man, they don't
care about me. It's more transactional at that point. Yeah,
but that's what you made it in the recruiting process.
Yeah.
Make it to the point where you're interested into their school, into their program, into those coaches, and now the coaches are going to say, man, listen, this is a good kid, good family. You know, we think he's going to be good for us. Let's find a way to, you know what I'm saying, figure out what we can do to help his family and help out. Financially wise, because they already know that's the name of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So don't go into it about the money, go into it about the situation and what's best for you as an individual, as a young adult and a basketball player, and everything will pan out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I tell a lot of kids too, like, you know, like you said, you are what you're recruited by. Sometimes you might want to go down enough, play, get numbers, and then you can still bump up and make even more money, and also be playing at the same time. Because it's never you go to a certain level, and if you don't play or produce at a high level, you're never going lateral.
No.
You're always going down. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's the thing with everybody has to understand, like, play the long game, you know, understand what's the best fit, and then all the NIL stuff will come.
Yeah.
Definitely. You feel the same, Tasha?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think, you know, it's hard when you're recruiting and you're a college coach and the first thing the only thing they care about is money. You're like, okay, well, that tells me a lot. That tells me you're not really going to be invested in the program and the guys in the community we have here. You're chasing a bag. So that means if you're chasing a bag, if a bigger bag comes, I can't know that you've made the connections to your teammates, to the alumni, to the boosters, to whoever, that this is a place you genuinely want to be. You're just not here for the money. You know, if you go back 20 years, where would take the money off the table? Would you still want to go to this school?
Yeah.
I think that's the question that you ask yourself. The money is a plus.
Yeah.
You get to check all these boxes and you get a bag. That gives you an opportunity to go somewhere and be genuinely like happy, embrace your teammates, embrace the coaching staff, embrace the community, and then on top of that, you're getting that money as well. And then and I think as a college coach, if you have a kid that's saying these are my top tier things, that's not the money. When they go back to whoever who has the money, they'll be like, hey, he wants to make UGA a perennial basketball like program in the country. He's willing to do this, this, and this. He wants to engage with the community. He wants to engage with teammates. We got to throw the bag. Bring us the money.
Absolutely.
I think people are more willing to just collect that money and give that money to somebody that is making an investment in themselves, but in the betterment of that program and in its future.
Yep. Absolutely. It's not a transactional thing or a one-off thing or let me get what I can get now. It's about let me pour this back into the people that are invested in me. It does have a different feel for it. Absolutely. Flipping it back to us a little bit, to you guys. Lance, you had a unique opportunity to have Kobe Bryant come to your high school game. Can you talk to us about that?
Oh, man. So funny thing was a couple people, I don't want to say maybe somebody knew our coach, Phil McCrary, and some kind of way Kobe was in town for the Hawks for a couple of days. So he came to the school and talked to us. And the one interesting thing that he said was somebody said, hey, what was your plan B? I think everybody probably heard the story. He said, well, you know, you put all your apples in one basket, what do you do? He said, I just make some more. So that just tells you what kind of guy Kobe was. He was just so intentional with, like, nothing was going to prevent him to be great. And
not making it was not an option for him.
So it was just like, and if I did succeed in what I was going to do, I was going to find another way to try to make it and make it happen. Because he said, I'm going to just make some more. So, you know, that was pretty cool. But like I said, he came to talk to us one day, and then he was saying he would come to our game. So we were playing St. Pius at our gym, and then next thing you know, the game was just going on, and then you just hear an uproar. And you look back door, it's Kobe Bryant and a couple of his assistants. So he came and he checked us out, and you know, that year we won state that year. We had a really good team, man. We had guys like Jeremy Price and Travis Lizard. That's, of course, UGA.
The only year he won state.
I wasn't able to get 3 like you. I had you know, like I said, hey, it's all good. But yeah, we had, you know, Travis Leslie, Jeremy Price, which are 2 UGA alums.
Dogs.
You know, we had Jordan Lemons, Jontavius, and, you know, Moo,
squad.
Sean. Like, we had a lot of just guys. And like I said, you know, at that time, too, I felt like we had one of those squads that was, you know, considered like a college. You know what I mean? We had Jeremy Lightfoot, too. Like, Jeremy Lightfoot and Jeremy Price, 6'10". You know, that's
what you can do with that.
And that's back in, you know, the early 2000s.
When they giving it inside, making you what you want to do.
Yeah, so yeah, that's shoulder in your chest work.
Yeah.
So
you know, and of course he came to the game, and you know, it was good. You know what I mean? He was excited, watched some good basketball, saw a lot of talent. So, that was very cool for us as a group to have that experience.
No, that's dope, man. I saw it. I remember Trav showed me the picture, and I thought he was till he showed me the picture. I thought he was lying. Then I was like, oh, okay. I was like, dang, he actually did come to the game. But that's a really cool story. Tasha, for you, obviously did it at the highest level. Like we mentioned before, like a top pick in the WNBA draft. I was watching both games last night, playoff time right now. Just phenomenal talent. Just give me your take on like where the WNBA game is now compared to when you played, and I personally feel it's in an amazing spot. They have a lot of talent, even talent coming up still. Just give me your thoughts on it. How you see
I think the WNBA is finally where it belongs in every aspect except player pay. I think the views are there. You know, like anytime you have a big balloon and there's like a lot of outsiders that come and get different eyes, I think there's going to be a lot of extra opinions. And I think the WNBA, in protecting their players, that's where they could have done a better job at. Because I think, and it was inevitable, the hype surrounding Caitlin Clark, the hype surrounding Angel Reese. It was inevitable that this year viewership was going to be up. Yeah. And when what comes with more eyes, that means that's more mouths. And I wish they would have done more to protect the players, because there's, regardless of if you see it or believe it or not, there's that racial element of, like, they kind of did like the old school bird and magic type element. And I think a lot of players suffered some unwarranted racial abuse. I think a lot of the players were subjected to some homophobic abuse. They were subjected to misogynistic abuse. And it wasn't for the betterment of the game. It wasn't because they were fans of the women's game. It was not, probably when they weren't even fans of Caitlin Clark. You know, they just enjoyed somebody who essentially looked like them being at the head of a predominantly black and black female-led league. Yeah. You know, and I think what Caitlin Clark has done is amazing. Like, the numbers she's put up, like, has been truly incredible. I am very blessed and just overjoyed that these young women, like, have all these eyes on them and seeing just how good they are, just how good we've always been. And I think a lot of them are proud to carry that torch. You can tell with the passion and how they play that they understand that, like, we had to struggle, you know, and people before us had to struggle even more to get to where we are. And now we're here, and, like, the family's everybody's putting their arms around everybody. You know what I'm saying? So it's all, for me, for women athletes to get the love that they've been seeing, and people saying, like, oh, shoot, these girls, they're getting down. You know, as somebody who always didn't get that love, you know, well, I got that, but as far as, like, the women's game back in the day, you know, I think it's really, really, really special to see and be a part of and witness, you know. And I know that it's going to just keep growing from there. And I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see it develop. And hopefully it gets to the point where they're not having to play WNBA and going overseas and being away from your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, all winter and spring and stuff like that. And being 6-7 hours ahead, a different time zone. So I think having that professional, like that true professional athlete, the male professional athlete, Like LeBron's playing NBA season, then he's gonna take that mean vacation or wherever, and then he's gonna be training.
Yep.
He's not gonna be overseas going through 2 days because the Europeans, the Europeans are very pro 2 days, and I was like, oh, they are tripping, you know.
Yeah.
And when you think about the impact it has on your body, you know, going from, because I don't know how much you know, you go literally from their overseas season right into training camp.
Yep.
You know, you go from the peak playoffs to training camp, which is preseason, the grind, you know. So I think hopefully as it continues to grow, women can just play in the WNBA and stay and make enough to take care of their family and start generating generational wealth for their families as well.
I think the game is heading to that.
For sure.
I think it's definitely heading to that. And I know when it gets there, you're going to be even more prouder because you were definitely one of the trailblazers for it, obviously. But I think it's in a great spot, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll improve on a lot of things as time goes on, but I've been enjoying it. I know I've been enjoying the playoffs for sure. So,
and I like how they've embraced a lot of former players. When you start seeing, compared to a lot of other leagues, like we have a lot of former WNBA players that are head coaches. Becky Hammond, you know, you got Noelle Quinn. I mean, one of my good friends, Renee Montgomery, she's transitioned from player to owner.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and killing it too.
Exactly. Like the WNBA is, you know, like, yeah, the eyes weren't on you back then, but we're going to put you in the spotlight and we're going to make sure you get that undue respect and opportunities now.
It's becoming like a sorority.
Yeah, exactly. It's always been, because we've always had to protect one another, you know, because it's literally, you know, because think about it, how when we were growing up, how people talked about the WNBA. It wasn't like I'm excited to watch it. You know, people were like, oh, ain't nobody, you know.
I would say this. The one thing I remember back in the day that everybody's always saying now, women's basketball, like, man, they put the goal down to 8 feet now. So we'll watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, as I've gotten older, and, you know, I've had female friends that played, and, you know, I have guy friends, and there's people I know that coach on the girls' side. Like, when you hear them talk about women's sports, and you actually, like, you know what I'm saying, when you start looking at it, like, it's no different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually a better product fundamentally.
It is.
Because, you know, with a lot of guys, there's a certain age. If you turn 14 and you bouncy, you just that bouncy athletic guy. You know, our bouncy is like, okay, maybe we can grab the rim. Maybe we can dunk one hand, two hand. So we had to learn how to play the game the right way. You know, yes, they're athletic players, but not like freak athletes like Russell Westbrook. You know, you've seen it. You all see people they've been able to cheat the game because they're super athletic. But with women, you got to learn how to play the right way.
It's true.
You know?
It's true. I used to tell guys all the time, is that if you really want to learn how to play, it's like, you should watch women. Like they don't have, like you said, the luxury to rely on athleticism or just supreme physical gifts all the time. Where like, no, you still have to be able to, one, know how to play and also have the fundamental skills. So
yes, I think women's basketball is basketball in its purest form.
I can agree with that. Definitely. A few more questions before we get out. For both of you, toughest player you ever had to guard? Tasha, you had some killers, so I already know.
I would probably say Candace Parker or Sylvia Fowles. And like Candace, just because Candace and I grew up like both tall players, super versatile, like could do it all. And as somebody, like that was something that was one of my biggest strengths as a player. So I know how hard it was to guard, you know, and Candace was like 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", lean, like long length. So I was like, oh shit, here we go, you know, but I enjoyed the challenge. And then Big Seal, I know I'm strong, but Seal hit me one time. My chest collapsed. And then she was tall and she's super athletic, you know, and she's one of those players that get off the ground really, really quick.
And she did.
You know, so those two were definitely the people that, you know, I really, really look forward to. I really had to be on it when we were playing. So
I had a couple guys, and they were, you know, in the 07 class. So one guy was Derrick Rose. Great career. He just retired, man. And
shout out to you, Rose.
OJ Mayo. And OJ Mayo was a phenom. And I'm gonna tell you, Derrick Rose, right? He's like a bowling ball, man. Just put 3 holes in his back, downhill.
Yep.
It was a couple times where, he's pushing in transition. As soon as I stepped up at the 3-point line and he just kind of make a move, by the time I opened up to try to recover, he's in the air, just rising. Or he went baseline and, I don't know if he had mercy on me that day, but he just decided just to lay it up and not dunk it. Right. But yeah, and then, OJ, man, he was just a phenom since back in like 7th, 8th grade, man. He just, he was one of those kids that back in 8th grade, like the Milk House, in Orlando, like everybody was watching that court.
Yep.
And we played him in Houston in the Kingwood Classic. And
I was there.
He was just like, he'll get the ball, and he was so advanced, like for us, when we played, he was just calling out his moves. He was like, fade away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he telling you what's coming, but
you can't do nothing to stop it.
So, like, those 2 guys, man, in general, was just like, they were unreal, man. Just athletic. And they, like we talked about, like, they were just different by the way they move and they play. So.
Yeah, for sure.
OJ was easily the in person, the best high school player I ever seen. It was at Kingwood. I was watching, gym packed, standing room only in there. And I was just like, oh, it's just effortless. Like everything. Like, yeah, it was crazy. I think for me it was definitely John Wall, bro. Like, I mean, when they got to Kentucky, dog. How you said about Derrick Rose, the exact same way. But he's like 6'6", bro. So I remember we had a rule. I tell this story a lot, but like Coach gave us a rule, like nobody crashed the glass, like everybody back. He caught the ball, and I'm at half court. He took 1 dribble, and he's almost like in front of me. So I run back, heels on the 3-point line, 2 more dribbles. He's right there. This man did a spin move at the 3-point line and almost dunked the ball and would have if he got fouled. And I look over the side, Coach is yelling at me, and I'm like, Coach, what you want me to do with that? Like, what you want me to do? Like, there's no defense for that. But like, just he was, I mean, and had a phenomenal career, obviously. But yeah, the fastest thing I've ever seen on the floor with a basketball by far. One last question for both of y'all: what was y'all's favorite road win in college? For me, there was nothing like road win. So what was y'all's favorite?
Man, I had to think about that.
I don't know. My favorite road win was at North Carolina.
Oh, that's big.
North Carolina. I mean, technically that wasn't. We had a couple big wins at home, but when we played against North Carolina, like beginning of the game, they had that song "Jump," and the crowd's just jumping, and it's so loud to the point where you can't even hear you talking to your teammate next to.
Yep.
And y'all been in those environments where it's so loud. It's just everything is just music just blasting, and we beat them. And when I was talking about we beat them, it was crazy. We had a good time, man. We came back home. We was excited. And, it's nothing like playing a game, getting back to your room, and you just turn on ESPN and you see the highlights of your game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's like, and it's
That's me. We did that.
yeah. You're like, oh, you see me on TV.
Yeah.
So those are the good moments right there, man, especially with your brothers,
Absolutely.
Mine is probably when we played Iowa State in the tournament at Iowa State. And they had one of those like courts that was like a stage, kind of like Vanderbilt. They got that massive drop off. So it's kind of like you're at this, like almost like in the Coliseum, like in Rome. And like it was the first time that they made it to the Sweet 16. I'm sorry, they got to host a tournament. So it was crowded. And I think it was a tournament. So it was the biggest, it's winner go home. And I think that was a lot of fun for me. So.
No, that was dope. I think for me, it might have been, I had two. I think Mississippi State on the road. You remember because they had the cowbells and all that down there. So like it went to overtime. And I remember we came back and we partied a little bit after that one. It was fun. It was fun. And then personally, I guess another one when we beat Tech on the road junior year. I'd hit the game winner on that one. We beat Georgia Tech.
Oh, okay.
Georgia
That's
Tech.
what I thought you said, but I just
I remember that game.
Brother Lance had a front row from seat for that one. But those are probably the two favorite ones. Those I'll never forget for sure. All right, so it's Saturday. Me and Tasha got a football game. The ones I don't know what
you can tell it's Saturday. You can tell who went to UGA because I mean, we got out the car. Dustin got red, black, and white on. I got red. I'm dogged down. I got my old lady dogs with the cursive G. Only real ones know about that. But then you got old rambling wreck over here. There is not any navy or gold in sight. That boy he got on brown and black. That's how you know your team ain't
about this.
And the game's at home.
Oh, it's a home,
but
and there wasn't no traffic. And there was a home game, wasn't no traffic today.
But I mean, the other day, I contemplate, like, man, do I really want to come in here with 2 Georgia boys?
Not on Saturday.
No, sir.
No. Hey, just wait till basketball season. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. I mean, I like our chances this year.
I'm agreeing with you. Anyway, man, that's it. I appreciate both of y'all coming on, just sharing y'all's expertise. I think it was great for anybody watching, and just informative, and that's what we wanted it to be. So thank y'all again.
Of course.
And that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching.